So, so how do entrepreneurs and companies think about these issues, integrate sustainability into product development, product end of life, and ensure that we are innovating for good?
They're going to be forced to, right? Because the world is already starting to switch about global warming, right? If we had this conversation 10 years ago, most of the people here would say, global warming. Now we're starting to realize how real it is and how deeply we're in trouble. We're just starting now. 10 years from now, we're really going to understand that. And so the companies, we're going to start changing our product decisions, and regulation is going to come in and tax things that cause too much carbon development, right? And that's going to change all of our behavior. And we're going to start looking at who made this product, where did it come from, what was involved in making this product, because we need to know, for instance, if you buy a hybrid car, what's the trade-off of buying a hybrid car versus a gas car? How much carbon was put in the air to build the batteries for that car? And how recyclable are the batteries? You know, and what's the actual cost on society of the batteries? And we don't know that as consumers. We should, but we don't. I think it's going to be consumers are going to change their behavior. Government's going to get involved. It already is, right? They were all the government people were over in Paris talking about this, right? And they made some pacts. They actually made some progress on this. And we're going to see databases that get far more detail about what actually is what the costs are of our products. Maybe in 10 years we'll see new kinds of labels.
10 years, another 10 years.
We don't have, you can't look at, I just bought a Toyota Prius. And
when my kids ask me for something, I'm going to say 10 years.
I would actually like for you to speak more on the sustainability standpoint and really tying in what the government's role should be in really, I guess, the VC landscape, the startup landscape, because as you said, we don't have 10 years and we're still constantly watching the VC landscape. They're going into consumer tech, these like fast and quick apps like turnarounds for these like 10Xs when there are real problems to be addressed. And again, we don't have 10 years. So how should we function as entrepreneurs, as, just...
Politics drives me nuts because most of our senators still don't know how to use a modern phone, don't know how the internet works, don't hang out with nerds who are thinking about the future, and they're not paid to learn all that stuff. They're paid to get reelected. That's what they care about. And until we change politics in this country, we're going to be faced with the politician system is behind. And I never am going to look to government to do any of this stuff. It's always behind because of this. They're paid to keep people in fear, not to take visionary, bold steps and move things forward like Elon Musk does.
Who are we building out for? You know, when you have these like smart city challenges, when the government is throwing $150 million to the developer community,
Scoble.
What can we do?
I'm glad you're here to point out the other side of it. The government does work sometimes, and when it does, it's like, how did that happen?
We got questions at the back.
But you know, when it does happen, it is something that we should keep trying to work with government to get some of these big problems, because I can't put a sensor on a bus or a GPS system. That's not something a nerd in Silicon Valley can do.
And the challenge with innovation is that it's difficult. You know it, you are innovators, you are disruptors. And the challenge also is that sometimes out there are companies, existing companies, who have a business which depends upon them staying around with their one thing that they were really good at. And somebody comes along with an innovation, some disruption, they're going to try to protect themselves and use government to protect themselves, or lobbyists or others.
I mean, stuff like drones and VR, that's got to be regulated. You can't just have chaos, right?
Yes, and yes. You need chaos because you need nerds like us to go and build new things and try new things and innovate and hey, maybe crash a few things and maybe even kill a few people because we're stupid. Cars kill 30,000 people a year in the United States. We don't stop driving cars, right? Innovation takes some
So no regulations. There is a need for some.
The less regulation you have, the more nerd activity you have. All right, so that's one point of view. And on another point of view, you don't want flying shit over the air and flying into jet airplane engines, right? So you need some regulation, and it's a friction right now. We have to figure this out as a society. How much regulation do we need?
This is a fascinating conversation. Gentleman at the back.